back, friends, to the Way of Wonder. It's always good to have you join us on this journey into the deep of beauty and of wonder, a spirituality of wonder, which is an antidote to so much of our stress and distress these days. We're glad that you're joining us for these romps through man's creativity. And I'm joined again by my dear friend, Father Pat Schultz from the Great Midwest.
The Great Midwest. Hi, Bill.
That's an expression. Have you heard that before? The Great Midwest?
I haven't. I haven't heard that.
I grew up on John Cougar Mellencamp, who was John Cougar, then he was John Cougar Mellencamp, then he's just John Mellencamp. But he's from Indiana. Yeah, we all grow and change. And he had a song called The Great Midwest. So I just grew up.
Okay.
Yeah. Why is the Midwest great, in your opinion?
The people were insulated from all of the natural disaster kind of stuff. Like, you don't have to worry about hurricanes or tornadoes or tsunamis. You don't have a lot of earthquakes.
That's a good point.
Forest fires. It just doesn't happen.
Huh.
At least in Ohio. Not really.
So what does happen out there? Cornfields
and gray skies.
Gray skies. It's good. Good enough for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's my turn to go this week.
It sure is.
So let me set this up, Father Pat. We have looked at...
My interest is piqued.
Yeah. Huh? We have looked at... did you say piqued?
I did.
Is that the full of peaked?
It's peaked.
Is peak? Can we
I
restart,
just said it
Thomas?
weird.
Just start. Caught it. We have looked at, this is so funny because what we're about to dive into is really serious.
Oh, gosh. All right.
It's all right. Whew, deep breath. We have looked at, how do you spell piqued? That's not a real word.
Focus. I can't
All
wait.
right. Let me just take a little sip here while we, all right. We have looked at great works of art. We have looked at things that are rich in technical skill. And, that's definitely part of art. It's a skill. There's incredible training and discipline. And, but that's not all there is to art. I mean, like, what makes an artist? Must you be technically proficient? Well, we're going to step into that a little bit today, but I'm setting this up because I want to show you something that, it's actually quite simple, quite beautiful. But technically speaking, it's sort of like, okay, well, what's going on there? Then I'm going to give you the backstory. And
Okay.
I feel like this is some of the richest, most poignant art, almost like life-saving art. When Dostoevsky says beauty in the end will save the world. Okay, so here we go. So Thomas, if you would, bring up the two images done by the same artist. Okay, I have a feeling your response is already... I don't know if you know yet.
I think I know where these are from.
Okay, this is... I just, preparing and praying, Father Pat, for this week's episode, this one just kept coming up. So, these are images of the Crucifixion and the Sacred Heart of Jesus. You can make it out, right? They were carved by Stefan Jasieński. He was a second lieutenant of the Polish army during World War II. He was active in the resistance near Auschwitz. His mission was to analyze the situation in the camp, what was going on there. Eventually, the Nazis arrested him. He was captured and arrested in September of 1944. So Lieutenant Stefan was killed. He died in Auschwitz in January of 1945. These images, and there's a picture of him there, of the second lieutenant, Stefan Jasieński. These images were carved into the wall of his cell, 21 Block 2 in Auschwitz. And it's believed as a prisoner, he made these images possibly with his fingernail being locked into this cell block in Auschwitz itself. So, oh boy, when I first encountered this, I saw the image and then I heard the backstory. I was wrecked. So I have another thought from someone about this work, but I'm just going to give us a second to look at the art and then think about the artist and the context in which he made it.
Oh man, I'm truly speechless.
Yeah.
Which is not exactly what you want for a YouTube podcast show.
No. Or do we? Maybe we change the game.
Oh man.
As you're speechless there for a sec, this image, I found the original that I saw of the Sacred Heart of Jesus that's on the screen now. It was actually cropped, and then I found a little bit of a better resolution of, again, his prison cell wall, and then I was just struck by the figure at the bottom, so you can see the outline of a face close to Jesus's heart and the right arm. So that's someone, I would say it's Stefan himself probably, resting against the breast of Christ, the heart of Jesus. If you could make it out there, because you can see the silhouette of his face roughly carved out of the wall of his prison cell, and then the arm sort of going around our Lord there. So, man. So on the walls of prison cell 21, block 2 in Auschwitz.
Do you know what the walls were made of? Are they like stone?
Yeah, it's hard to know, because if that was his fingernail, holy cow, or who knows what, a chip of rock or something. I'm imagining they were, I don't know, maybe they were sandstone, concrete. I don't know. I couldn't find any data on that, like what the walls were made of. We could probably find out, but
Wow. The phrase that just is in my mind seeing this is, it is so fitting. Like, if the crucified belongs anywhere, it belongs in Auschwitz.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm reminded of a story, a little anecdote I think it's in Father John Newhouse's book, Death on a Friday Afternoon. Have you ever read that?
No, I haven't.
Woo! That should be your Lenten reading. All of our Way of Wonder people, read Death on a Friday Afternoon by Father Richard John Newhouse.
We'll put that in the show notes. We'll put that in the description.
Yeah. There's an anecdote that he tells in the story of someone who's in one of these death camps. I'm not sure if it was Auschwitz or Birkenau, or it might have been the Gulag. I don't even know. But you have people being hung from the gallows, and someone from the crowd is just crying out, "Where is our God?" And someone else from the crowd goes, he's in the gallows.
Wow.
He's hanging there, right? Like, there's just something about, like, he entered into the worst of it. You know, we're as this episode airs, we're right on the edge of Lent. And, you know, we're preparing to enter into this long season of, it's not a season of self-punishment. It's a season of, in many ways, it's a season of romance, of being stripped of our idols, of being won back over to the heart of Christ. But what will win me back over to the heart of Christ in the end is a clear vision of the madness of this love that went to a place. He entered into his own Auschwitz for me, to save me, so that he would accompany me in my own worst of it all. It's just amazing that we have a God who suffers.
Yeah, that's the scandal. That's the scandal of the gospel, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
That he becomes this brutalized mess, crowned, beaten, slapped, bleeding. Yeah, I think that's what stirred, like, this sort of dualistic heresy that we've fallen into, that, you know, the body is just you know, and God's pure spirit and he's way up there. That's what causes us to ask these questions, like, where is God? But he answers that question, just as you said, by stepping into the mess, by taking the hits. Pope Benedict, I think, talks about this, where he says, can there be beauty, or something like that? Can there be beauty after Auschwitz, after the camps?
Yeah.
And this is the actual point where the Via Pulchritudinis, the way of beauty, meets the Via Crucis, the way of the cross. Like, bam, right here. He is the all beautiful one, who is also the one we can't even look at.
Yeah. I remember when I took your Way of Beauty course
Mm-hmm.
at Malvern, whatever that was, 2019 or whatever.
Yep.
I remember, I don't know if that I'm sure that was something that you drew out, but that
It is in there.
stunning realization that like the Via Pulchritudinis, where does this eventually lead you? To the Via Crucis. Like, and it's so paradoxical, right? Because you know, your heart begins to awaken with all of these objectively beautiful things, and they're singing to you and awaking you and having you like walk along this path, and they're leading you finally where? To Golgotha, where beauty itself is pierced and scourged and crowned and mocked and spit upon, right? Like, this is why Dr. Peter Crave says, The Passion of the Christ is simultaneously the most beautiful film that's ever been made and the most hideous film that's ever been made.
Yeah. Yep.
Right? Because it's out of the crucified. I mean, the crucified is the most beautiful.
But
it's so paradoxical.
Yeah, and it's like he's the God of paradox. Like he does this all the time because it's a fallen world. I think because we, stupidly gave it all away by inflating ourselves over him, right? By this whole grasping, that he has to come into this insane mess that we've made and flip it. And so this is what he does. This is the paradox, that he would do this. And it's such a, like, this is what Tolkien calls the eucatastrophe. This is the sudden moment where it seems all is lost, and this is the most hideous, nightmare, disaster, failure, flipped, and then there's victory, and all things are made new. In the Mel Gibson film, The Passion of the Christ, people are stunned when he drops that phrase right in the middle of the Via Dolorosa, the carrying of the cross, where Jesus says to Mary in the film, Mother, behold, I make all things new. Yeah. I make all things new right here. I mean, if that doesn't comfort anybody listening right now, watching, if you're on the cross, you are not alone. That's a trite expression we've heard a million times, right? But you are not alone. Where is God? Literally, he's interwoven into your suffering, and you're woven into him. He's right there. I mean, again, like this second lieutenant, Stefan Jasieński, can you imagine? I mean, look again at this crucifixion scene.
Yeah.
He's in Auschwitz day after day, carving away at the wall, hearing, I'm sure, screams and moans, starvation, torture. And he's carving this crucifixion. I mean, this is just, this is a relic.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah.
I'd love to make a pilgrimage to see it.
And I love that it's so, nebulous is not the right word, but like ill-defined, like that, the anonymous Christ on the cross. It's like it's every person who's there with him,
right?
Oh my gosh. And it's because it's like in the wall, it's almost like it's in their reality, it's in their situation, but it's also like emerging out of it.
Right. It's like a relief.
Yeah.
And there's a double meaning there.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine the countless hours of, creating this as he's sitting in this cell, but also praying with this and in this, and just his hand so many times pressed up against it.
I mean, do you think that was he alone in this cell, or was this like a cell block where he was with other people?
It was a block.
I'm asking, just imagine now other people with him. Like, why are you carving that?
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
Why are you stop carving that?
Mm-hmm.
And like the ridicule he might have taken doing that.
I've tried to do a little bit more research. I can't. I just want this story to expand. I want to know every detail, but I haven't been able to find too much. There's a sister who must, and I might need to reach out to her if she's still around. But I have a quote here from a sister, Kathy DeVico. She's an abbess of the Redwoods Monastery here in the U.S. And she's obviously learned a bit more about this and pressed in. But here's what she says about these images. What kept Stefan's heart from hardening with bitterness She asks, what kept him from hating his enemies? Clearly his prayer, because his purpose as he sat in his prison cell drawing this picture with his fingernail was to make his heart become like the heart of Christ. To make his heart become like the heart of Christ. So she's saying that's what kept him from bitterness, kept him from hatred. I'm just thinking now, Father Pat, of the Man's Search for Meaning.
Yeah, Viktor Frankl.
Viktor Frankl's work, yeah, where he's, the experience is that those who are consumed with hate or bitterness, it just literally consumes them. But those who could find meaning, something deeper, were the survivors. They kept their sanity, so to speak. Not that they weren't suffering incredibly, but there was like a focal point. And here it is carved in the wall, a focal point for him, for Stefan.
Thomas, can you go to the other image of the Sacred Heart? So I'm assigned to Sacred Heart of Jesus Parish, and I didn't really have a devotion, I would say, to the Sacred Heart per se until I came here. And so now, being here, you see a lot of images of the Sacred Heart, and they tend to be so sappy and saccharine and
right.
Just, the sort of same syrupy Christian art veneer. And like this is like perhaps the truest image of the Sacred Heart.
Yeah.
Like the manliest, the strongest, the most compassionate, consoling, like carved by a man's fingernail into the cell block wall in Auschwitz. That this is like the Sacred Heart of Jesus is not something weak. It's the still point of history. It's
wow.
It's the only thing that consoles. It's the only thing that gives hope, and like there's just something so striking and strong about this depiction of the Sacred Heart, just carved in stone in a Auschwitz cell block wall.
I know, it really is phenomenal. I mean, just contextually, like branching out, imagine panning out from this zoomed in cropped image we have and seeing what surrounds it. I mean, you can't help but be so deeply moved. And I'm looking at the heart. I mean, you can see like in this kind of relief as he's carving away, he must have carved around that heart thousands of times.
A lot. You
can just see like that heart was the center. That was the focus.
Yeah.
Wonder if it's like too that Christ's hands, it's again, it's kind of ill-defined, but does he have a hand under the arm of the man? Like if that's Stefan, he's just kind of holding him. So again, like this kind of, a broken man being held by a man who was also broken, but is now strong.
I finally see
you can see the shape of it.
I can see it now.
Yeah, it's very, you can see the eye, the contours of the side of the face, the profile, and then the shoulder.
Yeah.
Pressed in.
The ear, the nose, the jawline. Yeah. Boy, that's so subtle though.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. He spent all that time on the heart.
Yeah.
That, boy. Woo!
I know. I know. I need to do some digging and find out a little bit more. I mean, this is like a martyr. This is like a martyr's masterpiece here. This guy, maybe, I want to know more. I want to know more about him. To me, he seems like a true martyr. Who knows? A cause for canonization or something of just, and they were amazing saints, by the way, in this time. You've got your Edith Stein, you've got your Maximilian Kolbe. There's a wonderful sister from Poland also. She was known as it was one of the camps, but she was the angel of that camp because she always went around, even though a prisoner, she was ministering to people. So like the whole where is God question, I mean, he's in it, all over it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to ask a question. Just like stepping back a little bit, but because I started off by saying we've looked at works that are, technically such a high level, right, of artistry and work. But so the question is, what is an artist? I'll just ask you that question from the perspective of kind of what we've been doing for a few months now. But what is an artist in your own words, would you say?
Someone who, in their own way, sublimates the raw material of God's creation into something beautiful.
Mm.
So you take like the raw material of, I'm thinking of that the illuminated manuscript, right? The raw material of sheepskin, the raw material of minerals, the raw material of dyes, and sublimate, meaning like lift up to the divine, right?
Yeah.
To make sublime. You take this substrata of creation, and by passing it through the prism of human creativity, it gets transformed or elevated to reveal something more, something beautiful.
I love it. I love that. Yeah, I'd echo that. And that's very theology of the body, right? It's very much like I'm taking hold of this and this reality that's concrete, and with my body, I'm shaping it. With my mind certainly, but with my hands, I'm co-creating, sub-creating with God in it. And I feel like too, I'd add in to your definition. I think I'd add in like we're. Like God breathes his ruah, his life breath into Adam. So I think the artist too is somehow like he's being inspired, she's being inspired, but also is breathing in something in there. And there is like a pathos there, I think too, because you can have art that's just, as you said, pure sanguine, sugar sweet, sorry to those who might like Thomas Kinkade, but the Thomas Kinkade sort of cotton candy paintings that are kind of, there's technical skill, but they can be easily manufactured. But if you're really raw, like grabbing raw material and breathing into it, your own personal life breath, your own stuff, I just feel like that's where it becomes like sort of different, magnificent, personal, humanized in you. That's why when I'm thinking of that question, what is an artist? Because I'm looking at this, and here's a second lieutenant of the Polish army captured in war. But oh my gosh, the art that this guy just made. So it sort of broadens the definition, right, of what it can be, what it can look like.
I don't know where I heard this, but maybe I'm making this up right now. I don't. You know how that is. I don't actually know.
Yeah.
But the most beautiful thing in the world, even the simplest child can depict, just 2 lines, the cross.
Oh, wow.
Right?
I think that's the Father Pat original right there.
It might be. I don't know.
I think it is. Wow. Because isn't that ironic? Because often people will say if they think art is about having technical skill, they don't have it. So they say, I can't even draw a stick figure. But to your point, yeah, you can. You can draw two perpendicular lines, and you've made the most beautiful thing in the world, a cross.
Yeah.
And you can layer on that and make it, Celtic knots, and you can ornament it and make it look like this Baroque amazing thing. Or you can just keep it simple. It's still the most beautiful thing in the world. It's the cross. It's the...
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, I'm ready for Lent.
Yeah, right? Okay.
Jeez.
So repeat for us, Father, what was the book? The
Death on a Friday Afternoon.
Okay, Death
by
on a Friday
Richard John
Afternoon.
Newhouse.
Richard John
Newhouse. Man, it's a meditation on the 7 last words, and it's in the Mount Rushmore of the best books I've ever read.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. There's 4 faces on Mount Rushmore, right? So this is like...
Yes.
Oof.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll put that in the description of the video here. And if I can dig up any more information, I'll put it in. But otherwise, we'll have this, what I read, we can maybe plop that in there about this amazing work. And yeah, this is really, I wasn't thinking about the Lenten journey ahead that's coming very soon, but this could really be a, because what's Lent again? A stripping away, like you said, a purification. And boy, was this man, Stefan's faith purified, his life simplified and purified.
I'm so taken by the fact that he spent so much time going around that heart. Like
Yeah.
That for me, that's whoo.
Yeah. That's where we got to go. That's what this is about. That's what life's about.
Golly.
All right. Well, thanks for the
Okay.
Pat. Yep.
Thanks, Bill, for
Stick a fork
destroying
in
me.
us. We're done. That's why we're here. That's what we do. And there's always so much more, so much more. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks, Father Pat. You're up next week.
I am.
If you've been moved by this, please like it, share it, just get it out. We want people to join us on this journey of being destroyed by what God is doing in and through people throughout the centuries. So thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next week.